What up, YouTube? So today's gonna be part 3 of the Honda Civic K24 build. Right now, it's pretty much time. We're gonna start stripping down everything we don't need. So this engine harness we're not gonna use. This throttle cable we're not gonna, or throttle body we're not gonna use. We're gonna disconnect the transmission. Check out the clutch. We're gonna get a stage 1 anyways, but we'll take it off and kind of give you guys an example of what's a good clutch still with the feathers and everything. We got to take off the exhaust manifold. We're going to clean up some of this stuff right here because we're not using for the fuel system. The fuel rail we're not using as well. I think we're getting a whole new system on that. Pretty much just getting everything we don't need. So right now I'm going to start getting on the harness, taking some of this stuff off, and then we'll get to the transmission, and then we'll come back, take the manifold, throttle body, and after that, I'll see if we'll get to the GSR swap that we got to take out of the hatch, and I'll show you guys how to take that out. So right now I'm going to go and get to the harness, and then we'll come back and start messing with the transmission and exhaust manifold and throttle body. Alright, so we got the engine harness off, pretty much everything ready. I took the exhaust manifold. They're just 5 14mm bolts, real simple. I went and got most of the bolts off of the transmission. There's one under here I got to get, that's a 14, and then we'll separate the transmission. We'll get to the clutch, take that apart, and I'll show you guys if the clutch is good or how to really kind of tell if a clutch is good. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off, and we'll come back, get to that, and then we're gonna do the 4 bolts right here. So we got 4 12s. Just gotta disconnect these lines right here, just clamps pretty much, and then like I said, we'll come back and start discussing the clutch after that. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock this out, and then we'll come back. Alright, so transmission is all taken apart, and I got the clutch out. So you can see, I don't know if you can see on camera, but these feathers right here, that pretty much lets you kind of know your life. If you still kind of have those, you still got a pretty good decent clutch. I would say a good 80 to 75% still good left on here. So I would say at least another 30-40,000 you can get out of this clutch. So we're still gonna upgrade and get a stage 1 anyway, so just kind of wanted to show you guys that. Other than that, that's pretty much it for this. We're about to get rid of this shell, and then we're gonna bring the GSR in and start getting the swap taken out. So we'll be back right now. Alright, so we're back with the GSR swap now. It's time to get this thing taken out of here. So pretty much just got to start getting to the plugs right here. That's usually the first thing I do, is start taking these all apart. Pretty simple. Shoot. Yeah, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to find something to hold this head up real fast. Yeah, let me do that and then we'll come back. Alright, so we're back with the GSR, and pretty much getting ready to take this thing out. Easiest part to do is get to the plugs at least. So these are your plugs right here. You're going to be using the same plugs actually when we're doing the conversion harness for the K-Series. So we'll tuck this inside, and then that'll run to the other side of the ECU with the E-plug. Same over here. So you just pretty much just lift, take off. This one's a push in, and then the bottom ones will take off or push down, wiggle out. And this one's, you all just push down. And same with this one. Alright, so the harness is pretty much ready. Now we just got to get these 2 8s right here. And then I'm going to go start just doing all the little stuff. Take off the intake. We got to get to the clutch master cylinders. Slave master cylinder line, and I'm gonna start going over everything, all the little tins. We can disconnect the fuel, brake booster, pretty much every little thing we need to get this thing ready. So I'm gonna start knocking some stuff up and we'll come back. Alright, so we got our intake out. Our harness is already disconnected with the 2 8s from the fuse box. Disconnected the transmission ground, valve cover ground. I got our fuel regulator off. Our throttle body disconnected. And pretty much now I'm gonna start getting to the slave cylinder. So it's two 12 millimeters right here. I'll take those off. I'm gonna take the power off the starter because it is relocated to the back, so we'll probably be reusing that how it is and probably extending it a little bit. Other than that, that's pretty much all the little stuff. We got to disconnect the fuel. That's like a 17 right here, and then little vacuum lines. I'll get to that in a little bit. After that, we'll come back and start draining the radiator so we can get the fluid out, and then we'll get to the headers. These are all, well, they should be 12 millimeters, but these look like 13, so I'll take all these off as well, and then we'll start getting to the suspension, axles, and pretty much getting this thing ready to drop. Still got to do a lot of little stuff, but it's almost there, so I'm going to go ahead and knock that out, and then we'll come back. Alright, so I took out the radiator. I got my slave cylinder out. Pretty much disconnected the heater hoses in the back, so those are ready to go. I disconnected the throttle cable from the actual throttle body, and that's pretty much it as far as the top. I got all the bolts off the headers, so I'm gonna go lift this up, get to the suspension right now. We need to do the bottom two bolts for here, the headers, and we can get those out of here. And then we'll get to the shifter, which is a 12 bolt, and a shift pin, which is also called the bitch pin because it is kind of hard to get out. And then there's two 12 bolts for the actual where the shifter goes to drop out. Other than that, we just got to start getting to the actual spindles because we're going to go send those in to get the hubs redone. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and jack the car up. We'll get to the underside. I can show you guys what you need to do to pretty much finish getting the swap out. It's a lot easier to do these than it is to do K-series. Pretty much they're basic. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to that, and then we'll come back. Alright, so this is pretty much the suspension right now. Like I said, we're gonna be putting a new camber, or we're gonna be putting a camber kit on here. We're gonna redo the rack and pinion, inner and outer tie rods, pretty much ball joint and hubs. So first thing we're gonna do to get to this is a 14 right here. These ball joints are all 17s. You got to take out the cotter pin first, so we can get to those. And then a 17 on this side, on both sides, so you got to hold the other side down. And then we'll get the ball joint separator after we take the 17 off, get that out, and we'll have this with a 32 millimeter. And that's pretty much it. We'll probably go ahead and take off these brake lines too as well, so that's two 10 millimeters. And then the caliber is 217 millimeters. So I'm gonna go ahead and start knocking this out, and then we'll come back see what we got to do next. Oh, also the header. So two headers. There's 12 millimeter right there. I think on both sides, or the other side might be a 14, and then the front is a 12. After that, then I'll show you guys the shifter pin that you got to get out, and the 12 millimeter to take out the shifter bolt from the transmission. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock out these spindles real fast, and then we'll come back. Alright, so we're back now. We got our headers taken off, we got the spindles taken off. Pretty much we just got to do the axles next. Let me show you guys what you got to do to get the shift linkage off. So there is a clip right here that you got to take off. This pops off, and then that gives you access to this actual pin. And then there's a 12 millimeter right here, and then two 12s in the back to get to finish dropping it. Other than that, that's pretty much it. We got these half shaft bolts I'm about to take out. There's three 14s, and then the rear mount, which is a 17. And then we should be able to take the other sides of the mounts and drop this motor. And we got another three 17s. This one's probably a 19. And then we got three 14s over here. And that one's probably like a 16 or 17 since it's a different bolt. Other than that, yeah, just got to take that off, the shift linkage, and then we can drop this engine, and then we'll get to the shift linkage in the back, and drop those, and we should be pretty much in the video. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock that out and we'll come back. Alright guys, so the GSR swap is finally out. Pretty much what's left is gonna be for the next video, so we're gonna have to prep out this mount. Obviously only EG and DC you have to cut this mount. I know a lot of people, or EV, actually EF too, you have to get this bracket out, but EK you're actually good, you don't have to do it on EK, but you do have to change the subframe. This already has EG DC subframe, so we're pretty much good on that. Next video we'll be knocking out the rack and pinion, taking out the EVAP box, fuel filter from factory since we're doing all completed aftermarket. Take out our old clutch line, get rid of our old mount, and start cleaning and prepping and get it all painted up and everything. And then we'll come back to this motor, start getting it all painted up as well. And we're going to throw our new clutch, get our transmission back on, get it all painted up. And we're just waiting for some parts to come in, and then next video we'll start putting this all back together, prepping this, and most likely if we have enough time for the next video, drop the motor in. If not, it might just be preparation and everything. But other than that, if you haven't, like, share, subscribe, comment, let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys in the next video.